Yeah, I'm just not a fan of the Bayformer movies. I don't think they're good movies. No, I'm not gonna take that back. Oh, go moan and groan to your dad.
Oh, your dad owns a bank, huh? Well, tell him that if you want me to take it back so bad, he'll have to take my... I didn't even get to finish my sentence. Hello there. I'm homeless. This is a lesson to all the kids who watch my videos. First off, don't. Second off, you live a life of making people angry every day, this is where you'll end up. The middle class. I've got my lawyer settling things about getting my house back after I lost it to an angry Michael Bay stan's father. Now you may ask, why not just get a new house? That house has sentimental value to me, I don't know. Guys, I'm not gonna lie. Being homeless kinda sucks. I mean, what do you mean I can't play Mario Wonder? No, I have to sit out here every day and hope someone gives me $1. It's like Mario Party, but it's not a green dinosaur taking my money. It's capitalism.
Hey man, you want $1?
Oh, sure. You want some change?
Sure.
Speaking of change, let's talk about a bad change. Ratchet looking like this.
Now, I assume I don't need to explain to you what a Transformers is. One of the most popular and beloved media series of all time. It's about big sentient robot factions fighting each other. Has gotten at least 3 TV shows, comics, toys, and they're owned by the devil himself. Now, Transformers was no stranger to movies pre-2007, and by that I mean they got a movie based in the continuity of the G1 cartoon in 1986, and that movie was pretty good and traumatizing.
Imagine being a Transformers fan and your first Transformers movie is watching Optimus Prime die. Like, that's gotta be scarring.
And for the next 31 years, nothing. We of course got shows and games and all that jazz, but in terms of films, nothing. But that all changed in 2007 with the release of Transformers, directed by Michael Bay.
My favorite director.
So Michael Bay is a director whose work I'm not the biggest fan of, to put it lightly. I mean, he's made a couple of good movies. The first 2 Bad Boys movies are pretty fun, and The Rock is great. But he's also made Pearl Harbor, and 6 Underground, and the Transformers movies, or as the series is known as by nerds, Bayformers, or the Bayverse. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just talk about how Michael Bay got his hands on the franchise. Producer Don Murphy initially wanted to make a G.I. Joe movie, but following the United States invasion of Iraq in March 2003, Hasbro suggested making a Transformers movie instead. Murphy and producer Tom DeSanto, who were big fans of the franchise, drew their inspiration from the first generation of Transformers. DeSanto wanted to go for a more human-centered narrative, while Murphy wanted a disaster film tone. Steven Spielberg joined as executive producer in 2004. Initial drafts of the script didn't even have the Cybertronians talk, but the writers insisted on including it to respect the fans.
Ironic.
Michael Bay was asked to direct by Spielberg in 2005, but he dismissed the movie as a stupid toy movie. He was skeptical when offered to direct, but he eventually agreed to it because he wanted to work with Spielberg, and he got a new respect for the idea after visiting Hasbro. He did think the original draft of the script was too kiddie, so he decided to increase the military's role in the story, which in the long run would be both a very good and a very bad decision. They chose which Transformers to use via popularity. And RC was originally supposed to be in the movie, but she was cut because, I kid you not, they found it difficult to explain robotic gender.
So you see, kids, when a robot daddy and a robot mommy love each other very much.
Transformers was released on July 3rd, 2007, and would make $709.7 million on a $145 to $200 million budget. Now let me preface this little review by saying this. I love action movies. All sorts of them. Whether they're tightly written thriller action movies like the Mission Impossible movies, to movies with absolutely incredible action like John Wick or The Raid, to absolutely stupid action movies like the Monsterverse, the first Jurassic World movie, and the modern Fast movies. Yes, I said the modern Fast movies. These movies are absolutely terrible and I love them to death. So with all that being said,
I don't really like the first Transformers movie.
Okay, let me just say this. I don't think it's a bad movie, just more mediocre. I'm not going to do my usual scene-by-scene breakdown of these movies because there are 5 of them, with most of them being close to or being 2.5 hours long, with Age of Extinction being nearly 3 hours long. so I don't want to bore you to death talking about the plots of these movies. I am instead going to bore you to death talking about why I don't like these movies. Okay, let me start off with what I like about the first Transformers movie. The special effects look genuinely amazing. Like, I'd argue, besides maybe Dark of the Moon, this is the best movie out of the 5 visually. The scene where Optimus introduces himself to Sam looks incredible with his transformation. Like, I can imagine if I were a kid back in 2007 in the cinema seeing this for the first time, my mind would be genuinely blown. I think Peter Cullen and Hugo Weaving are really good as Optimus and Megatron respectively. Yeah, Agent Smith plays Megatron in the first 3 movies. It's really cool. Megatron himself in this movie is okay. Trust me, this is the best movie he's in character-wise. The action's pretty cool, and I'd say this is the only movie where the action set pieces actually feel unique. I mean, besides Last Night, but we'll get to that movie's action when we get to it. The soundtrack is great, and overall, all the stuff involving the Transformers in this movie is the more interesting side of the movie, because it's titled Transformers. Unfortunately, this is where my positives for the movie end. Again, there are definite positives about the movie, but the movie also has a lot of issues. First off, I'm gonna say it. I don't like Sam as a protagonist. I think he's unlikable, he's uninteresting, he's really creepy. Shia LaBeouf gives an alright performance as this character, but I'm sorry, I just don't see what there is to like about this guy or why I'm supposed to root for him. And Michaela is not much better. I am not convinced there is a single person on this planet who likes this character beyond Megan Fox is hot. Which, to be fair...
Listen, back in my day, you had mainly 1 of 3 crushes growing up. Emma Watson, Natalie Portman, and Megan Fox. I say back in my day as if I'm 40 years old and not 17.
She's not interesting, and Megan Fox's acting in this movie isn't the best. God, I remember when she was getting as much hate for her acting in this movie as Hayden Christensen was getting for the prequels. That makes me feel so old. And overall, all the human plot lines in this movie are just really boring and uninteresting. The military stuff is a little more interesting than the stuff with Sam and Michaela, and that's because Captain Lennox, Josh Duhamel's character, is like the one consistently alright character in these movies. I mean, he's in all of the movies barring Age of Extinction, and he doesn't have as much to do as someone like Sam or Cade, but he's just an alright army character. My biggest problem with the human drama is that it's always getting in the way of the actually interesting stuff. The stuff with the Transformers. Like, I know people have these issues with stuff like the MonsterVerse and the other live-action Transformers movies, Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts. But the difference between those movies and the Bayverse is that either A, the movies manage to balance both sides well like most of the MonsterVerse and Rise of the Beasts, or B, the human drama is actually interesting like with Bumblebee. The Bayverse movies do neither of these things. A lot of the jokes in this movie are really unfunny. No, I don't find Bumblebee urinating on a man humorous. But the Ladies Man 217 joke was pretty funny, I'll give the movie that. Also, I just do not like how they changed the designs for some of the characters in these movies. Like, they changed some of them so much they look unrecognizable from their original counterparts.
This is Ratchet in the original G1 cartoon. This is Ratchet in the 2007 movie. They don't look anything alike. It's like making Rita Repulsa from Power Rangers some sexy green witch. Oh wait.
Starscream looks so much like Megatron in this movie. So many of the Decepticons in this movie and the series in general look like the same gray robotic blob. Let's play a challenge. I want you to guess which one of these is Soundwave. It's neither of them. This is what Bayverse Soundwave looks like. I get realism and having these guys look like real-life cars, but like, at least try to make them look like the cartoon you're basing this movie on. These movies are so afraid of making these cartoony, goofy characters look cartoony and goofy, and I think that hurts these movies more than it helped. Like, you can get away with more realistic designs for someone like Batman or Spider-Man, who have pretty simple and iconic designs that it's easy to make them look realistic. Here, it's big robots that look like this. You might as well embrace the cartooniness. Which I think is why Transformers fans like movies like Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts more, because the characters somewhat look like the characters they know and love. Also, sometimes it is really hard to tell which character is which in these fight scenes, especially the Decepticons. The pacing is okay, I guess. The story is average, it's okay, it's nothing special. But it's made worse when a good majority of this movie is taken up by uninteresting, unlikable characters. Oh, also the ending is hype, and at this point I don't know whether I actually like it or if it's just really funny. Overall, Transformers 07 is just meh. A movie with a lot of positive aspects, but with a lot of unfunny jokes, unlikable and uninteresting main characters, bland story, and crappy designs for a lot of the Cybertronians. I just can't say that I enjoy this movie. Again, it's not a bad movie, but it's definitely not a good movie. I'm going to give Transformers 2007 a 4 out of 10. A mediocre nothing burger of an action movie and not a great start to the series.
And the best part is, this is one of the better movies. It gets so much worse.
So like I said before, this movie made bank at the box office. It currently has a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, and an 85% from audiences, a 61% on Metacritic, and a 3.2 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So it got generally mixed to positive reviews from audiences and critics. Now apparently Paramount Pictures had planned 2 sequels for this movie before the movie was even released, but the movie would be heavily affected by the 2007-2008 Writers Guild of America strike, as were other movies released around that time. And it's really gonna show in this movie. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen was released on June 24th, 2009, and the movie made $836.5 million on a budget of $200 to $210 million. This movie isn't very good.
It's terrible. This movie is terrible.
This movie is 2.5 hours long, on the dot. Do you know what other movies are around that length in time? Zodiac, the first Avengers movie, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Pulp Fiction, Avengers Infinity War, Spider-Man No Way Home, The Dark Knight, I can keep going. You wanna know why these movies are widely beloved despite their long run times? It's because those movies are made up of substance. Characters you actually like and care about, stories that you enjoy watching, pacing that doesn't make the movies feel like slogs to get through. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen has none of these things. This movie is filled with big action scenes that numb you to the impact of explosions, unnatural exposition dumps, a bad story with some really stupid elements, pacing that makes the movie feel like a drag to get through, and the human characters from before that you didn't care about then are made even worse in this movie.
Again, I understand that this movie was heavily affected by the writer's strike, but it just feels like they took my biggest issues with the first movie and made them even worse.
First off, again, this movie's pacing drags like a zombie crawling out of the grave. There is a point in this movie where you think we're getting close to the ending, and then it goes on for another hour. I think that movies made by Bay's consistent one problem is that they don't know when to end. Movies like Revenge of the Fallen and Pearl Harbor drag out their runtimes to an absolutely insufferable degree, to the point where you're actively pleading with the movie to end already. And the pacing and runtime wouldn't be so bad if the movie actually had interesting stuff happening, but it doesn't. The jokes are even less funny than last time. Haha, tiny transformer grinding on Megan Fox's leg. Haha, Skids and Mudflap are being incredibly irritating. Haha, Leo is being incredibly irritating. Like, there are so many bits in this movie that hinge on the humor being funny, like a lot of the college stuff, but the movie is so unfunny it makes the experience watching it infinitely worse. The college stuff in this movie takes up way more of the movie than it needs to. Like, everything with Sam's parents isn't funny or enjoyable in the slightest. But Rainn Wilson is in the movie, so automatic 11 out of 10. The characters are even worse in this movie. Sam, on top of being unlikable and uninteresting again, gets incredibly irritating whenever he acts up with the Allspark bit in his head. He also possibly willingly cheats on his girlfriend, so that's another example of Sam being unlikable.
Listen, if you like Sam, good for you. I just failed to see what I'm supposed to like about this guy.
Also, Sam dying and going to Autobot heaven or whatever, we'll get to that later. His roommate Leo, a new character from this movie, is incredibly aggravating. His banter with Sam isn't funny or charismatic. And other characters in the movie also find him irritating, to the point where there is a scene where John Toretto's character knocks him out in order to get him to shut up. Sam tells him to just shut up at one point. It's like the movie itself knows that he's aggravating, but it continues to force the audience to put up with him. It's so infuriating. Michaela is once again not a good character in this movie, and her introduction scene is just... why? Michael Bay has a habit in these movies of just having shots of people's chests and behinds. Not just for the women, but the men as well. It feels like a Michael Bay parody at some points, it's so bad. Sam and Mikhail's relationship is a big focus of the movie, which is so fun because not only do these two have zero chemistry, but also it's one uninteresting unlikable character with another uninteresting unlikable character who has been shown to not be loyal to the first uninteresting unlikable character. John Turturro's character, I forgot to mention him for my segment on the first movie. He's incredibly unlikable and forgettable. I mean, I don't even remember his name. Lennox is once again a fine enough character in this movie. This movie's story is just riddled with plot conveniences, plot armor, and stupid moments. Like, why does the Transformer girl turn back into a human when she was shown to be a Transformer very publicly? Why do the heroes find something incredibly important not through actually looking for it, but rather Skids and Mudflap just happening to crash into the wall they need to find? Why does Sam go to Autobot heaven? Okay, I need to talk about this. The past primes claim that Sam is chosen and that he's been brave and a good person for sacrificing himself for Optimus. Not only is Sam going to Autobot heaven just so stupid that it's hilarious, not only is Sam not worthy of anything he gets called in this scene, but also I can't bring myself to care about this because Sam is such an unlikable person that I'm not rooting for him to succeed. Also, this movie just kind of numbs you to characters dying. Optimus dies and gets brought back. Sam dies and gets brought back. Like, it removes any tension. The Fallen is a really boring generic villain with really boring generic villain dialogue. But I at least like Tony Todd's voice acting here because Tony Todd is a really good actor. Also, his death is so anticlimactic. Like, Optimus gets his jet power upgrade, fights the Fallen for like a minute, and then he just dies.
Oh yeah, about Optimus.
Now we get to one of my biggest issues with the Bayformer movies. Optimus Prime's characterization. Now, Optimus Prime is above all else a leader who wants to save as many people as he can. He will only take lives when he has to, and he's not someone who brutally murders people. I mean, most iterations he's either a war veteran or he is in a war. I like to picture Optimus almost like Captain America if Steve Rogers had the strength of Superman. He's a calm, gentle giant who just so happens to also be a soldier who will fight for everyone's freedoms. So how is he characterized in the Bayverse? Well, I actually like him in the first movie. He's more of the Optimus we all know and love for the most part. In this movie and the other three movies, that Optimus goes down the drain. This Optimus is a bloodthirsty psychopath who yells about wanting to kill all of his enemies and destroys his enemies in the most brutal way possible. Like, if the Decepticons he kills were humans, this would be some Mortal Kombat type stuff. And I already know what some people are gonna say. Oh, he's lost so many of his friends. Oh, he has a tragic past. Of course he would become this murderous. Other iterations of Optimus Prime have lost people close to them. They wouldn't be mercilessly killing Decepticons in cold blood. This is not Optimus Prime.
Listen, I like change. I don't like this change.
The action is okay, I guess. I mean, I like the forest fight, but other than that, it's really hard to tell who's who in these fight scenes, again, especially with the Decepticons. And there are just these random explosions. Like, characters will just blow stuff up for literally no reason. It just numbs you to the impact of explosions.
I didn't even think numb to explosions was possible, but Mikey Bay sure continues to amaze me.
The dialogue is really bad. Like, no one talks in this movie like a normal human being. The exposition dumping is so unnatural, characters just say what's going on. Also, the constant screaming genuinely gave me a headache at one point. Okay, is there anything I like about this movie? Surprisingly, yes. Rainn Wilson's character had like one funny moment. Tony Todd's voice acting is once again really good, and the jet power transformation and the force fights were genuinely pretty enjoyable scenes. That's it. That's all I like about this movie. So yeah, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is really terrible. Bad story, a terrible cast of characters, extremely unfunny, awful pacing, bad dialogue, plot holes and plot conveniences galore, mediocre action, and the beginning of Bay's terrible characterization of Optimus Prime. If it weren't for the very few positives, this movie would be getting an even more abysmal score than it's already getting. I understand that this movie was doomed from the start because of the writer's strike, and maybe somewhere in this train wreck there's a decent movie, but in its current state, this movie really sucks. All in all, I'm giving Transformers Revenge of the Fallen a 2 out of 10. An absolutely terrible movie.
2 down, 3 to go. Oh my god.
Revenge of the Fallen made even more money than the first movie. It's currently sitting at a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, and a 57% from audiences, a 35% on Metacritic, and a 2.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So yeah, this movie got significantly more negative reviews than the first movie, unsurprisingly. Now, significant changes would come to the next movie, specifically Megan Fox leaving after basically saying that Michael Bay was a certain German dictator from the 1940s on set. So yeah, the relationship that was heavily focused on in the last movie gets dropped into the trash and completely forgotten about.
I mean, apparently Megan Fox's acting has gotten better in the last 16 years, so maybe this was for the best?
Now, not affected by any strikes, we get to see the quality of a not affected Transformers sequel. Transformers Dark of the Moon was released on June 29th, 2011 to a box office of $1.124 billion on a budget of $195 million. This movie is okay? Not good, but like, fine. There's actually some things I really like about this movie, but it's brought down by either the usual crimes of Bayformer movies or crimes original to this movie. Let's start off with what I don't like. The first half of this movie is not good. I think the intro is pretty cool with this alternate take on the moon landing, barring weird CGI JFK, and then it immediately cuts to the director's barely disguised gooning material. Sam is once again extremely unlikable and uninteresting. Wow, that's 3 movies in a row. Nice job, Bay. Even though this is probably his most tolerable movie, his new love interest Carly isn't a very interesting character, and Rosie Huntington-Whiteley in this movie is about on the same level of acting as Megan Fox was in the other movies, so that is to say, not very good. And once again, Sam and his love interest have little to no chemistry. Ken Jeong, as funny as I think that man is, his character in this movie is incredibly aggravating, and I was so relieved when he was killed off.
Give this movie this, at least it kills off the extremely annoying side character. Cough, cough, Revenge of the Fallen, cough, cough.
Patrick Dempsey's character in this movie is okay. He's an alright antagonist, even if he does have some extremely basic villain dialogue. But yeah, the first half of this movie is not very good. It's not interesting, it's not compelling, it sure isn't funny. It's not good. And Optimus gets even worse in this movie. Fun fact, Peter Cullen, the legendary voice actor of Optimus Prime, has gone on record saying that he didn't like recording some of the lines he had to for Optimus in these movies because he felt like Optimus would never say some of these things. But Bay just didn't care. I don't know, man. I kind of trust that a guy who's been voice acting this character since the 80s would know a little bit about this character and how he acts. Like, I would love the scene where Optimus defeats Megatron and Sentinel in this movie so much if I didn't absolutely hate how these movies characterize Optimus. He would not brutally murder these two in cold blood. I think what would have been better on the Sentinel side of this scene is Optimus sparing Sentinel or possibly trying to arrest him before Sentinel tries to kill him. Then Optimus kills him in self-defense. See, it's really not that hard. Don't even get me started on some of his lines in this movie. Also, Megatron would just not turn sides like this, especially from Carly's mediocre as hell speech. So I've said a lot of negative stuff so far, so why do I think this movie's okay? I actually really like the second half of this movie. This is from a pure dumb action movie perspective. Writing wise, it's not great, but the action in the second half is just dumb fun, like something out of the Monsterverse. I would really like it if it weren't for you and you. I think the collapsing building and skydiving parts were really cool. I think Shockwave's design actually isn't terrible. Like, I can actually tell this is meant to be Shockwave somewhat. I think Sentinel Prime is easily the best antagonist of these movies. It's definitely different from his appearance in Transformers 1, but I kind of like this version of him who wants to bring Cybertron to Earth and enslave the humans.
Enslaving the lesser people. Sound familiar?
I think he's an alright villain. Not great, but alright. The effects and cinematography, I'd argue, might be the best in this movie. And once again, the battles are just very entertaining. Again, they're not exactly well written. Generic 2010 Skybeam, a lot of the human characters should be dead at multiple points in this movie. Megatron's side change is dumb, and once again, I don't like Optimus in this movie. But the action at least kept me entertained, and the constant action made the absurd runtime of this movie at least somewhat bearable to get through. So overall, this movie balances out to being okay. It has a lot of negatives, don't get me wrong, but the somewhat entertaining second half makes up for a lot of this movie's shortcomings. I would not consider this a good movie, but I would certainly consider it a somewhat entertaining movie. With all this being taken into consideration, I am going to give Transformers Dark of the Moon... I was gonna give it a 6, but that feels too generous, but a 5 feels too low, so screw it, 5.5 out of 10. It is okay. It's also the best Bayformers movie by a country mile.
You know, I was gonna compare people's love for these movies to people's love for the prequel trilogy, just being blind nostalgia. But at least the prequels have good writing. Yeah, most of it comes from a 7-season TV show, but it's better than nothing.
Transformers Dark of the Moon is easily the most successful movie thus far financially, and it marked the end of the Sam Witwicky trilogy. Thank God. It currently sits a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics and 55% from audiences, a 59% on Metacritic, and a 2.7 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So the reviews were slightly better than Revenge of the Fallen. It seemed like the public was starting to get sick of these Transformers movies, so obviously the next movie wouldn't make that much.
We have failed as a society.
Transformers Age of Extinction was released on June 27th, 2014 to a box office of $1.105 billion on a budget of $210 million. This movie is awful. Like, it is somehow even worse than Revenge of the Fallen. Somehow. If you thought it was a slog to get through Revenge of the Fallen, oh my god, you have not seen this movie. At 2 hours and 45 minutes, this movie does not justify its disgustingly long runtime in the slightest. Instead of Sam, this movie gives us a new protagonist, Cade Yeager, played by Mark Wahlberg. Now, I'm not saying Mark Wahlberg is a bad actor. What I am saying is that this man needs to fire his agent, because I have seen him in a lot of movies. A lot of those movies are not good movies. Cade isn't a very interesting character. He gets like zero development in this movie besides something that we'll get to a little later. He's not really likable. They drill it into your skull that he's an inventor to an incredibly annoying level in the first like 15 minutes of the movie. I'd say he's overall slightly better than Sam, and that's mainly because I only have to put up with Cade for 2 movies rather than 3 movies. TJ Miller's character is unfunny and annoying, and I was so relieved when he was killed off early into the movie. Cade's daughter is played by the same woman who played Katara in the live-action Last Airbender movie. That is to say, her acting in this movie is really bad. She also has the usual Michael Bay shots of women in this movie, which is even weirder because this movie places a heavy emphasis on the fact that she is 17, which brings me to her boyfriend, who is 20. And they literally have a subplot in this movie about this guy telling Cade that he can legally sleep with his daughter, and by the end of the movie, Cade gives his permission to sleep with his underage daughter. Why is this a subplot in a Transformers movie? Who wrote this garbage? Kelsey Grammer and Stanley Tucci are in this movie. They give some solid overall performances, and I think Stanley Tucci being an unlikable jerk fits his character unlike every other unlikable jerk in these movies. Titus Welliver isn't very good in this movie, his character and his acting. And the scene where he shows up at Cade's house has so many stupid shot angles, it looks hilarious. Optimus Prime continues to be awful in these movies. This guy pulls up on the Dinobots and is basically like, "Join me or I'll kill you all." Yeah, that's the Optimus Prime I know and love.
This is literally the equivalent of Superman showing up to like the Justice League Dark or someone like that and saying, "Help me or I'll laser vision you all to death." That doesn't sound like Superman now, does it? Correction. That doesn't sound like a very well-written Superman now, does it?
Also, I understand that Optimus is mad about his friends being hunted down, but like, why does Optimus Prime need a motivational talk from Cade in order to trust humans again? Lockdown is actually up there with Sentinel for my favorite Bayverse antagonist, mainly because his aura is just top tier. The Dinobots literally show up for 5 to 10 minutes in the third act, even though they were marketed to high heaven in the marketing. Like, you can go take a bathroom break when they're on screen, and when you get back, they'll probably be gone. The amount of slow-mo in this movie would make Zack Snyder blush. All of the action in this movie has the most unnatural slow-mo I've ever seen. The action itself has some god-awful editing and just feels a lot like been there, done that. The story involves people not trusting the Transformers after the final battle of Dark of the Moon. Even though the Autobots basically saved the day, so wouldn't the public only dislike the Decepticon? Oh, whatever. This movie was written by coked up monkeys. They also introduced a thing called Transformium, which is what the Cybertronians are made of. They use it to create Transformer drones, and also not at all subtle product placement. I haven't talked about it much, but the product placement in these movies is so abundant. Like, product placement in movies doesn't usually bother me, but it gets so absurd in these movies. There's literally a Mountain Dew vending machine transformer and an Oreo transformer. Could you get less subtle? Anyways, they introduce so many interesting concepts in this movie, but they execute them so badly it makes their setups worse as a result. The dialogue is terrible, the effects at some points genuinely don't look finished. The final fight has Cade facing off against Lockdown with a giant gun, and Lockdown somehow doesn't just one-shot Cade at all. Oh, also Optimus just willingly kills a human being. Pretty sure he has a rule against that, but whatever. Galvatron is in this movie. He's whatever. I at least appreciate them trying to distinguish the Autobots in this movie, but none of their banter is really funny or entertaining. And this movie makes you deal with all of this for 165 minutes. It is such an unforgiving slog that is the prime example of Bay movies not knowing when to end. Talking about this movie is giving me a splitting headache, and I wish to discuss it no further. This movie is awful, plain and simple. It has some positives like Stanley Tucci and Kelsey Grammer's performances, the music being decent, and Lockdown being an okay-ish villain, I guess. But besides that, this movie fails on literally every level possible. The story is terrible, the characters are bad, the action and cinematography is terrible, the effects don't look finished, the dialogue is painful to listen to, it's beyond unfunny, and the pacing is agonizing. With all of this taken into consideration, I am giving Transformers Age of Extinction a 1 out of 10. Truly awful. And you want to know what the worst part is? This isn't even rock bottom. Despite earning over $1 billion, Age of Extinction was panned by pretty much everyone. It currently has a 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb, an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, and a 50% from audiences, a 32% on Metacritic, and a 2.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So yeah, everyone was tricked into seeing this movie because of big robot dinosaurs, and we all lost 3 hours of our lives that we're never getting back. So you'd think we'd learn our lesson for the next movie, right? Surprisingly, kind of. Transformers: The Last Knight was released on June 21st, 2017 to a box office of $605.4 million on a budget of $217 to $260 million. Now, I've seen a lot of bad movies in my lifetime. I mean, I've talked about 2 of them in this very video. And I don't throw the term one of the worst movies I've ever seen around a lot. So I 100% mean it when I say Transformers: The Last Knight is one of the worst movies I have ever witnessed. Yes, it is worse than Revenge of the Fallen and Age of Extinction, by a significant margin. Where do I even begin? I am going to tell you all of this with a straight face so you know I am not making any of this up. This movie begins with establishing that the Autobots had actually been on Earth since the time of King Arthur, and Bumblebee helped fight against the Nazis. Even though I'm pretty sure it was established in the first movie that the Autobots first arrived in 2007. Like, legit, what were the writers smoking when they were writing this movie? And can I have some of it, please? Listen, when you become homeless, you lose all sense of your morals and beliefs. I have not seen continuity get thrown out of the window this quickly since Rise of Skywalker, but that's the Bayverse for ya! The story takes elements from already not good movies in this franchise and makes them even worse. Oh no, the government is hunting down the Autobots. Where have I seen this before? Oh no, the evil Cybertronians want a MacGuffin that will destroy the world. Where have I seen this before? And you'd think that repeating plot lines would leave me with nothing new to say, right? Oh no, this movie sure has its own original problems. I refuse to believe that the aspect ratio in this movie stays consistent for more than 10 seconds. It is so distracting that it almost distracts me from the god-awful action. Once again, we have the big hunks of metal who look similar bashing against each other to the point where it's impossible to tell who's who, the awful editing of these fight scenes, obnoxious shaky cam, and well, okay, the one kind of compliment I'll give this movie is that the Nemesis Prime vs. Bumblebee fight wasn't horrible on a choreography standpoint. It was emotionally terrible, it feels kind of short, and the ending is laughably bad, but the choreography was okay. Kay, once again, is a boring nothing burger who now has a Transformers sword attached to him because we needed to make this character even remotely memorable. Vivian is the final of the female main character in the Bayverse who's not interesting, and their actress in that movie isn't very good. At least she didn't get shots sexualizing her.
It's entirely possible that there were shots like that in this movie, but I probably was distracted by the other 20 billion problems with this movie.
This movie has Isabella Merced in her first big movie role as a character named Isabella. There's nothing interesting about her, and I don't remember Isabella's acting being awful, but I don't remember it being great either, so. Anthony Hopkins is in this movie, and his character exists mainly to give exposition dumps and tell the characters where to go before dying later on in the movie. He's meh. They try to tie this movie in with the other movies, bringing back Lennox, John Toretto's character, and having a reference to Sam, who is implied to be dead, but they might bring him back for Michael Bay's next Transformers movie and claim that he was actually never dead. Oh yeah, Michael Bay is coming back to direct a new Transformers movie, and people are celebrating this.
Am I living in Crazy Town? Am I the only one who's dreading this because Michael Bay has left enough of a stain on the Transformers brand as is?
The effects just don't look good. Like, it's not Age of Extinction where the effects genuinely don't look finished, they just look bad. It's really hard to explain. Quintessa is easily the worst Bayverse villain. She's a paper-thin character, and not even Gemma Chan can make this character even slightly memorable. Megatron is a flat villain, and his line about him and Prime being brothers once has no impact, considering they barely, if at all, focus on that in any of these movies.
I swear on everything holy if I see one person say that a movie from a completely different continuity makes this line from this continuity better, I am going to scream.
Oh, also, they give little to no explanation for how Megatron returned back from Galvatron in this movie beyond, oh, Quintessa possibly gave him a new body, I guess, lol. You see what I mean with my Rise of Skywalker comparison? The story is nonsensical with way too much stuff happening throughout, which makes this movie's runtime about as agonizing to get through as Age of Extinction, and this movie is 16 minutes shorter than that movie.
I swear I don't hate long movies. A lot of my favorite movies are pretty long. It's just that these movies do not justify their insanely long runtimes at all.
They just casually drop that Earth is Unicron, because why not? This isn't that big of an issue, but Stanley Tucci plays Merlin at the beginning of this movie when he played someone else in Age of Extinction who has no relation to Merlin. It's not really a big deal, I just think it's kind of strange. The Autobots from Age of Extinction are back, and they are, once again, just kind of there. I haven't mentioned him yet at all, but Bumblebee in these movies is okay. He's just never been a character in this universe that I care about, and I much prefer the Nightverse version of him. I just wanted to mention him because he's a part of the worst scene of the whole movie. But now, let's get to the selling point of this movie. Optimus Prime being mind-controlled into Nemesis Prime. Now I'm gonna ignore if this is accurate to the source material, not only because there are several different origins for Nemesis Prime throughout the various shows, but also I have given up on this series trying to be source material accurate at this point. But my main problem is,
oh no, Optimus has become a murderous psychopath. Boo. He has been a murderous psychopath for the last 3 movies.
You can't have a story where Optimus turns evil and kills others without mercy when this Optimus has already been shown to kill others without mercy. There is very little difference between this Prime and this Prime. The only difference is this Prime hurts his friends and has a red streak down his face and purple eyes. Doesn't help that he's barely in the movie. The main selling point of the movie is barely in said movie.
Learning from your mistakes is for the poor.
And the way that Optimus turns good again is literally the Martha scene from BVS, but somehow worse. Right as Prime is about to kill him, B's voice comes back and he speaks to Prime, who remembers his voice. That's it. That's how he turns good. He turns good again because he punched B so hard his voice came back. At least I understood what the Martha scene was going for. It was horribly executed, but it had a decent concept. This scene is just terrible from concept to execution. The final battle is extremely underwhelming, especially Quintessa's death. And overall, for what's supposed to be this big climactic movie in the series, it sure doesn't feel like that at all. The stakes barely feel like they go above all the other movies in the series. Now, is there anything I like like about this movie? Honestly, no. Besides the okay choreography of the Nemesis vs. B fight, I don't like anything about this movie. This is a movie where I feel like no one involved in the making of it cared. Which I don't like saying because obviously a lot of effort goes into making movies, no matter the final product. So I don't doubt effort went into this project. But the final product makes me feel like this was solely made to make money. And it did make money, but I feel like after the last couple movies were not very good, audiences just didn't care about these movies anymore. It's not like the MCU where their quality is inconsistently good or bad. The Bayverse's quality output was just not good. And I feel like this movie was the final nail in the coffin. So in short, I despise Transformers: The Last Knight. Its story is unengaging, its characters are uninteresting, its effects look bad, the action is incomprehensible at points, it has some of the worst pacing of the series, the dialogue sucks, its main selling point contributes very little to the movie, and its entire concept is just awful. The stakes aren't there, continuity is all but forgotten about, and it feels like a movie that just has no reason to exist. This is a worthless movie, and one of the most miserable pieces of cinema I have ever witnessed. With all of this taken into account, I am giving Transformers: The Last Knight this channel's very first 0 out of 10. Absolutely atrocious garbage.
I can guarantee you one thing, this video is not helping me beat the always negative allegations.
So while this movie did make some money, it is the lowest grossing movie out of the 5. It currently sits at a 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb, a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, and a 43% from audiences, a 27 on Metacritic, and a 1.9 out of 5 on Letterboxd. By the way, follow me on Letterboxd for more movie reviews. Okay, thank you. So what can we learn from the Bayverse movies?
Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast are not a part of the Bayverse. I'm not talking about them.
Well, it was obvious after last night's less than great box office and atrocious reviews that a change in the series was in desperate need. And I'd say post-Bayverse, Transformers movies quality-wise have been much better. Bumblebee was just a really great movie with an actually interesting human plotline. Turns out all you need to make a Transformers movie better is just add Haley Steinfeld to the movie. It was so simple. How did we not see this? Rise of the Beast isn't a fantastic movie, but I still had fun with the movie, and Optimus Prime actually feels like Optimus Prime.
It's truly incredible what happens when you make the characters people know and love from the source material act like how they are in the source material.
And Transformers 1 is one of the best animated movies of the last 5 years. It was just incredible. So why were these movies so much better than these movies? Well, I think it was for one reason. They actually felt like movies for the fans. Throughout the Bayverse, they changed so much about the Transformers characters to where it felt like Michael Bay didn't even care about what the fans wanted. I mean, he didn't even care what the actors wanted. And sure, the last 3 Transformers movies haven't exactly been box office smashes, but they felt like movies that would actually make Transformers fans happy and not just generic action movies with big robots. And while I did complain about it earlier, we don't actually know much about Bay's next Transformers movie, so who knows if it will actually be good or bad. I mean, Ambulance was alright. I think the story of Transformers movies is mainly about one thing: change. The Bay movies changed so much when it came to adapting the source material that it didn't really feel like Transformers anymore, especially with a certain character. But after The Last Knight, they changed so much about the next 3 Transformers movies to where they actually felt like Transformers movies. And heck, the Bayformers movies actually did have some positive impact. There are a lot of Transformers fans whose introduction to the series was through the Bayverse. What I'm trying to get at here is that not all change equals good change, but a little change can sometimes equal some good.
Well, this is a fun way to kill time, ranting about movies no one's thought about in 8 years. Plant Funeral Services, you stab 'em, we slab 'em. Oh, hello, Mr. Lawyer. Oh, you got some updates about my house? Oh, I'll be there real quick. Bye. I'm about to get my house back.
Oh, hello, Mr. Curran. No need to make this meeting longer than it needs to be. Just tell me when I can get my house back. That's not what I know. The opposing party has
Mr.
lost
Curran,
the
if you would
case,
just-
and we will be compensated, blah, blah, blah.
Please, if you would just
get this on
listen.
with, so we can all move on with our lives, and I can...
Ben!
Yes, sir? Okay. The good news is we did win the case. But the bad news is... is the house has already been sold.
What do you mean it's already been sold? I got kicked out like 3 days ago. What do you mean it's already been sold?
Just listen. Oh my god. Okay, so we have another option of relocating you to another house close by. Listen, I know that house had a lot of sentimental value to you, and I really tried. No, that's fine. That's fine. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I've been thinking, maybe I do need a little change in my life. I've lied to you. I have. The truth is, I've had hard times when it comes to big changes in my life. I don't like change, but we always end up doing stuff that we don't like doing. Change is something necessary for all of us to go through at multiple points in our lives. It's really a wake-up call that makes you think into your life and think about how you can adapt and improve yourself through these changes. Now, like I said before, not all changes are good changes, but a little good change never hurt nobody. Now, I know I don't have the same couch setup at the moment, but I can make it work. I know it's going to take a while to get used to this new location, but I guarantee you, it'll be fine. This is far from the end of the channel, but merely a new beginning.